could have been a perfect night for the tank. What a day. That's like what a day. It felt like the NHL trade deadline was today. For the second time this week, the Coyotes have played a team that had a major trade go down and crazy news surrounding them. And the Arizona Coyotes lost the tank battle against the Chicago Blackhawks, I guess. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes postgame show, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah, here with Petey. Craig calling in from Mullett shortly. Petey, you've got 2 sides already.
They understand the assignment. I know they do. But when I say they, I mean Bill. And that's it. Because the coaching staff and the players clearly don't understand the assignment. And you take the all-star center, Nick Bjugstad, out of the lineup, thinking that will deflate this team. And it doesn't happen. Here's the reality. Chicago played in Anaheim last night. That's a tough back-to-back. It's tough getting... First, we wanted them to go to overtime. They didn't, but it was a late game. Our time zone difference. Chicago was out of gas. All the emotions today with Patrick Kane and everything going on in the Chicago locker room. Even though Kane left before the team played in Anaheim, it was still a very emotional day in the Chicago Blackhawks locker room, through their media and everything. It was a big deal. They just didn't have it today. That Chicago Blackhawks team has played better than that over the last month, and they didn't have any gas today, and it showed. And Arizona just kept coming in waves. And it's funny because this could have been a lot worse than 4-1. I think if you look at some of the opportunities the Coyotes had earlier in the game, that this could have been even worse than 4-1. So the Coyotes are better team. They get a win and move forward with 22 games to go.
Yeah, we were at the game tonight for the first 2 periods, and you look at the lineup sheet for Chicago, and you're looking at it. First of all, Patrick Kane's name still on it. A little delayed there. But you're looking at it, and I'm sure people have the same thought when they look at the Arizona Coyotes sheet. But, like, I didn't know who half those people were, because how could they when Chicago is trading away everybody this week, which is what I think a lot of Coyotes fans maybe thought would happen. Again, the trade deadline's Friday. It's only Tuesday. A lot can happen between now and then, but it could have gone 2 ways. Chicago could have said, like, look what's happened. Let's pull up our bootstraps and prove ourselves. Or it could have gone the way it did tonight, but it went the way it did tonight.
And I think what they had was a little bit of what maybe I expected in the Coyote locker room. When you see a player like, and they all knew Patrick Kane was leaving. We've known this for months. It was just a matter of time. But when he got held out of the lineup in Anaheim, and you go, okay, the room knows he's leaving. Like, this is imminent. But today it really happened, and I think it really deflated that room. I think he's a fixture in that locker room for 20 years, and it's a big deal. Like, and I think that really affected their emotions. I thought the Coyotes would start. You read Craig's article today about the emotions of a trade deadline.
It made me so
I know.
sad.
And so you get that, and then you sit out Nick Bjugstad, who's really well liked in the room, and Chychrun's still out, and you go, okay, this is coming. Like, there are people going to be leaving soon. I thought that would affect them a little negatively too, and I thought they'd have a hard time getting into this game. And I thought that might give Chicago the advantage, especially on the road, but it just didn't happen. The Coyotes look good, and like they've happened every time this season, somebody else comes in and takes their place. And who takes Bjugstad's place at center ice on that line?
His Minnesota counterpart.
His Minnesota counterpart gets the big goal, and McBain fills his spot in center ice.
And what a night for Jack McBain.
Before we go too much farther, can I talk about something at today's game? Mm-hmm. I swear I heard it on TV. You guys commented on it. You heard people talk about it on the radio, talk about it. I saw it on Twitter that people were saying the radio were talking about it. There were opportunities again in this first period.
Oh, yeah, this is funny.
Where the Coyotes do not shoot the puck. And it's Keller's right there. Shoot the puck. Laurent Dauphin is on a 2-on-1 on the dot. Passes it behind him over a player to get to Cassian. People are yelling. I swear I heard people yelling shoot on TV. And I know it's not just because of what we do, but we do encourage people to yell shoot when they don't shoot. And then look at their first 2 goals. Yeah, Boyd's goal, it was not a great shot. It's just funny off their defenseman's stick, and it goes in. And the second shot's a floater from Schmaltz. I still think it may be over the head, but the officials didn't. So Hayton gets the assist or a goal on that one, but just by putting pucks at net. So Lesson of the day, get pucks on net. Just shoot the goddamn puck.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did to DP. But.
No. Okay.
It's not you. It starts with the super chat.
Okay, so let's read the super chat from Altex. So thank you, Altex, for the $5 super chat. Said, I bid $550 on the Cassian warm-up jersey. I lost the bid, so here's $5 I was trying to put toward that. He also almost had 2 chances of scoring a goal. Thank you for your super chat. And then blatantly asinine said, this just in, someone paid at least $551 for a Cassian jersey.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's good stuff.
Someone paid $700 for a Zach Cassian jersey.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, if you're that
Trade
person,
watch
please make yourself known.
Exactly.
To this day, I think my favorite moment in the history of Coyotes hockey is this brief moment that I thought Zach Cassian was going to attempt a Michigan. And real Zach Cassian fans know what I'm talking about.
Our show would have exploded.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, well, let's get into it. You talked about the shots on net, Petey, and let's look at the numbers and how everything shook out. The Coyotes, of course, outshot the Chicago Blackhawks and won because, of course, 33-24 were the shots. They outshot them every step of the way. This was one of those games. It's rare the Coyotes look like the better team. Again, night in and night out, they did look like the better team. Not a ton of penalties in this one. Obviously, we saw the offsetting majors for fighting, although it was a 4-on-4 because roughing. But it was a pretty physical game, I will say. We'll get more into the fighting and stuff in a second. But guys were throwing their bodies around. You can see it reflected in the hits, 27-21 in favor of the Coyotes. But what are your overall impressions?
Well, a couple of shocking things here. First, the Coyotes had over 30 shots and they won a game, which is only the second or third time that's happened all season. When they get 30 shots, they usually lose. So that they also outshot an opponent. Those two things happening concurrently in the same game, we'll have to go to our research department because that just doesn't happen. They were the better team. They were the faster team. When this team skates, they look good and they win. And I thought Laurent Fan looked good. Yeah. I thought him getting called up last minute. So something must have happened with Bjugstad because that wasn't the plan this morning, as far as you guys knew.
He was on the ice for practice.
Yeah,
so I saw him with my own 2 eyes.
That was not part of the plan. This is all stuff that evolved throughout the day.
Yeah.
And as people followed Twitter and the NHL trade deadline, there are so many moving pieces today.
Today felt like the trade deadline. Like, I feel bad for the network shows that go live on Friday. Like, what are they? Crickets.
Friday.
Nothing.
Like everybody, all the big ones are gone, aren't they? Except Chychrun. Chychrun, I think they're still calling the big one now because there's Tarasenko and Kane and O'Reilly, and they're all gone.
Yep.
And it's still 3 days away.
Today, there was something in the water today.
So the Coyotes, it's other people. Like every time this team just finds a way to step up and somebody else pulls the rope and they play well. And by the way, if you see Stetcher on that last goal, the third goal, that Stetcher move, buddy, that's 2 games in a row where Stetcher has done a spinorama move in tight and hasn't scored. It's coming, Troy.
How about a Troy Stetcher, Michigan?
Yeah.
Why not?
All about it.
I will tattoo that man's face somewhere on my body if he pulls off a Michigan.
I just want somebody like really obscure to score on Michigan for the Arizona Coyotes.
I'm all
the internet would literally explode.
I will go on record right now and say that if anyone not named Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, Matthias Michelli, is there anybody else that I'm forgetting that could reasonably pull off a Michigan? If anybody other than like one of those 4, I guess, successfully scores a Michigan, I will get their number tattooed on my body.
There you go.
All right, clip it.
Listen, Troy.
Let's go, Nick Ritchie. Let's go, Nick Ritchie.
What would be the worst number to possibly have? Ooh. For the record, 44 is like a huge, very important number to my alma mater.
So you're okay with Cassian?
So is that Cassian, Michigan? I
think all Tex would get a tattoo with you.
Yeah,
probably.
You don't think he already has one? He's got the spread eagle Cassian across the back.
Oh my God! Yeah,
maybe.
It's just been strange. We'll talk more about the.
But let's be happy again for today's win. This team is going to go through a difficult 3 days here. At least we think they are. We'll see. We'll talk more trade deadline, but we'll see. Yeah, so we think it's going to get difficult. When it gets difficult, they're going to lose games. So it's okay to get a win.
Well, the reason I brought up Travis Boyd earlier when you had mentioned that, because I thought you were saying who's filling in Bjugstad's Minnesota-ness.
And as soon as we were crying about, literally, we were crying all together as one in unison on Twitter, he scored. Like, it was almost like a sign.
I also kind of took a shot at him before the game because there was a little graphic where they were like showing each player's like favorite show, blah blah blah, and his favorite goal song was a Drake song. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. It's too bad we never get to hear it. Sure enough.
And they didn't play
it. They didn't play it. I wish more teams did that. Just saying. But Travis Boyd, let's talk about him for 1 second. His 9th goal of the season, 3 goals in his last 5 games. Like, hello, good morning, Travis Boyd.
Heater.
He's awake. He's there. He's ready. He's all in. Crazy.
And second in shots, only behind Shane Gostisbehere today with 5. He had 4.
Buzzing.
So I tell you what.
And listen, you already said it. The Coyotes goals tonight, except for the last Schmaltz goal, they were all kind of ugly. They were all weird. They were all strange. But like we've been saying for the last few weeks, you got to shoot. People have been yelling to shoot. And if you shoot, look what happens.
Good
weird shit like what happened tonight.
Patrick Nemeth with the Michigan.
That's great.
Yes, please.
Joel Will Smith, Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wait, and then Caleb said, "What stage of grief is Petey?"
Yeah, I don't know. It's like one of those foggy things. I did say they needed to lose this one because I thought the gap is closing. Who won?
I'm so upset because if you go on CHGO's
are they happy
YouTube,
right now?
Yeah. So their thumbnail says the perfect tank day.
So we're running.
Could have been us.
Those shows are concurrent and they're happier.
I just want everyone to know that
I'm going to go comment on their show from the PHNX account right
Buffalo
now.
Sabres made the ultimate sacrifice for the Coyotes.
They did.
And you spoiled it.
They did.
Just saying.
We talk about Columbus, and Columbus is right at the bottom with thinking there's no way this Columbus team is going to win games. They beat the wagon that is the Buffalo Sabres today.
The wagon that is the Buffalo Sabres without Rasmus Dahlin or Alex Tuck. Just saying.
Just saying?
Just saying.
I just commented from the PHNX account, we're upset on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show.
But it's true because you look at what happened. So the Coyotes sit with 51. Now they would have been tied with Chicago with 49. San Jose with 48, who was ahead, by the way. And I'm 47, 46. They all would have been within 3 points, but the Coyotes now are 5 points from Columbus. We'll see what this does. The funny thing with all of these teams at the bottom is they're all sellers at the trade deadline. And it really affects what happens in the room. And sometimes it can give you a boost because it's getting people an opportunity to play that don't normally play. It's giving kids from the American League get called up that aren't playing at all, and this is their chance. So you just don't know what these mixes. You go, okay, well, what if the Coyotes lose player A, B, C, and D? They're going to stink. And you go, yeah, but maybe they don't. Maybe somebody gets called up from the American League, or maybe a player like Michelli goes on a tear because he's getting more ice time. You just don't know how it's going to affect each team differently. I thought Chicago looked deflated, and they've been playing well for the last few weeks. Columbus, they're going through it, but they get a big win against Buffalo today. So I don't think it's automatically you can say, oh, they're losing their players, they're going to stink, because I don't think that's an automatic.
I know. And we can't get too down on the fact that it wasn't a perfect tank night, because the fact that we're even talking about Arizona and Columbus being within 5 and Anaheim being within 5 is something we never could have fathomed.
When they're up by 11.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're still very much in the mix. Sure, it wasn't the perfect tank day like the Chicago Blackhawks had. Ugh, not salty, but there was some fun stuff that happened in this game for the Arizona Coyotes. Barrett Hayton, he scored his 9th goal of the season. That one was weird. It took them forever to figure out what was going on there. We rewatched it 1,000 times trying to figure out what was going on. But his 9th goal of the season, 7 goals, 15 points in 25 games since it's been 2023. So he's kind of heating up. Barrett Hayton, and of course Schmaltz and Keller on the assists on that one. That line has just kind of been on fuego.
But and I will clear this up a little bit, because I know when you're talking about that point, the delay between, first of all, they looked at the goal, it was a good goal right away. But the delay, because you didn't have the benefit of all the stuff we had sitting at home on the couch, is the delay was over the penalty to Tenorti and should he be out of the box or not. Oh. And so they were going
I thought
to the
they were evaluating it for
wasn't the goal. It was the time. They had said it was a good goal and it was counted, and then they went to the timekeepers and they were debating on what the time left on the penalty should have been, and he should have still been off of the ice. So Tenorti had to leave the Chicago bench and go to the locker room. So it was all about Tenorti. It was nothing to do with the goal.
Well, it was still strange because you couldn't tell if it hit him or not.
I again, I usually like to call it like I see it. I would have liked to maybe see another replay because I think his stick was high. But
I was right there with you the whole time. I thought it was too.
We were too. And at that point, that was kind of a turning point for the game because if they had called off that goal, Chicago could have had their chance to come back.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
And they didn't. So that's a big goal. But it's Barrett Hayton getting to the net doing what he does well. And he has been so good net front of late. I tell you what, since he's joined Schmaltz and Keller, he's been a factor. And it's not always showing up. Even the Schmaltz goal today, look where he is. I mean, he's disturbing activity around the front of the net. Even if he doesn't end up being a part of the assist, he's involved because he's doing the things right around the net. Yeah, and then that Schmaltz goal, that was the most beautiful goal of the day for sure. What a feed from Keller, Gosper on the other assist, but Nick Schmaltz is 18th of the season, so he just continues to be absolutely electric. And Caleb, McBain only got a 5. Tenardi got a 5 and a 2. So Tenardi had 7 minutes. McBain only had 5. There you go. Okay. Well, yeah, McBain was just 1 assist away from a Gordie Howe hat trick. And that fight? Okay, so we have video of the fight. This is courtesy of me, and also Sean tweeted a really good video on his account on Twitter at Sean_DePaz. This was like an old school classic hockey tale. And watch right now, he boom, helmet off. Like this fight was ridiculous. It was one of the crazier fights I've seen in a very long time. This McBain kid, like, to be a college kid fighting, Tenardi's a big kid. Tenardi had a cup of coffee here in Arizona. He played in the minors here. He is a big, tough customer. And McBain's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And he got a couple of good shots, and the one that knocks his helmet off is, I mean, that's a big boys. That's a heck of a fight. I've got to. McBain has shown me something I didn't know he had in his repertoire this season, how tough he is and how he comes to the aid of his teammates. He's driving the net and he does a lot of good things offensively, but something like that, wow. And Bill Armstrong likes these big, strong, tough guys. He's got one. Yep. So what a night for him, filling in that Bjugstad spot, getting that big fight, and then also scoring his 8th goal of the season tonight. Again, not necessarily the prettiest goal we've ever seen, but a goal nonetheless. And for all of these achievements, we have decided to crown Jack McBain tonight's DraftKings king of the game with his 2/3 of a Gordie Howe hat trick, or as someone on Twitter said, the Gordie Howe hat trick. I want to make sure I give them credit. Rob on Twitter, thank you for that one. Unfortunately, a little short for Jack McBain, but one goal and Donnybrook. One Donnybrook, Sean. That's unreal.
The greatest word of all time.
Also, McBain. Jack McBain. Love it. Love it. Well, congrats to Jack McBain for being tonight's DraftKings King of the Game. Kind of a off the books one for us, which I always like when that's the case. But I've always said this again and again. If you want to win yourself some money on DraftKings, Keller Schmaltz points. Like at this point, you're just kidding yourself to not do it. It's just an easy bet on DraftKings. So check that out. And also, Coyotes, they've been playing pretty good hockey as of late. So if you want to sprinkle some money on them, or it's just, there's just so much you can bet on DraftKings. KD is finally making his Phoenix Suns debut this week. Yeah, tomorrow. We're supposed to tomorrow, right? Yep. So you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code PHNX, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. That's only a DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Definitely check that out. And Petey, you cracked something open when we sat down. What do you got? Yeah, we had to go for Kilt Lifter, and I'm sure we're going to get to talk about why at some point in today's show. But it was mandatory Kilt Lifter night tonight. Why can't we talk about it now? Or do you want to talk about it now when Craig comes on? Oh, okay, that's fine. But yeah, definitely. Yes, we love Four Peaks. I enjoyed a nice golden lager this weekend after a day. After a day of just you're working really hard, and you just. God, the golden lager. It was so good.
I've been on this golden lager train.
Yeah. I know.
Are you on it too?
That's been my beer. That's been my.
It's so good, and it was just so good at the end of the day. So check out Four Peaks. You can buy it wherever you buy your beer. And our friends at Four Peaks will be out at the M3F Music Festival March 3rd and 4th. Grab your tickets at m3ffest.com and enjoy a Wow Wheat beer while you're there. Must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. All right. It's time to bring him in, the man from the Mullett. It's Craig.
Hello, guys.
Hello, Craig.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
How are you,
You're
Craig?
making me nervous.
Got a low energy like the Blackhawks right now.
Yeah, that was not their best performance, and I'm sure missing number 88 affected them. Speaking of that, did you get to talk to anybody after the game?
Yeah, we talked to Andre. We talked to the guy you were just talking about, king of the game, Jack McBain. He had a good chuckle about his fight, actually. I asked him about the one blow in particular, and I think it got a rise out of the bench when he popped the helmet off. That was an old-fashioned tilt there. That was something else to watch. You don't see a lot of those in hockey these days. That was just two guys going toe-to-toe, and I lost count of the punches. That was crazy.
That was unreal. That was unlike anything I've ever seen.
I also don't know if I've ever seen a fight where the guys just like both standing up. No one even really kind of falls to the ice. They're both just like, we're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was unreal.
Show's over.
It's crazy.
Nothing to see here.
But Craig, obviously we've kind of touched on it could have been a perfect night for the tank. The CHGO Blackhawks thumbnail is perfect day for the tank. That could have been us, but it's not what happened. But do you have any thoughts on this game in particular, or just the implications of the Coyotes winning this game before we talk a little bit more trade stuff?
We go so up and down with this. I just when I look at what the Blackhawks have left. The lineup that they trotted out there tonight, that lineup's just not going to win many games. That lineup's not going to score many goals, period. That's an awful team. So, I mean, I guess I go back to what I was thinking earlier, that it's going to be really hard to overtake the Blackhawks unless the Coyotes start unloading some players, which still hasn't happened, though. You know, Nick Bjugstad was obviously a scratch tonight. We'll see if a trade materializes. Obviously, there's not much time left. They're flying very soon to Dallas to play tomorrow night. Those guys could be in the lineup for another game, and then we'll see what happens right against the deadline. But, I mean, they're right in it, right? You just don't know. It just takes a couple turns for a team to win a couple games, and suddenly you've caught them again, and the spread is not very big between these teams. But that's a bad Blackhawk lineup.
Yeah, and you look at a guy like Max Domi may leave still too, and his name is discussed in a few places. Then what? Because he leads the team in goals and points. But I go back to what you said about this team. Right now, the Coyotes are on their way. I don't know what time it is. It's 10:08. They're probably not at the airport quite yet, but this team's going to be in the air within the hour. So, do Chychrun and Bjugstad get on the plane? And I'm not saying that in jest. I mean, I'm completely serious. If you're not going to dress them, you're not going to skate tomorrow because there's no way you're going to get there in time for a morning skate. So they're not going to practice. There'll be no ice time. If you're just going to have them sit out of the game, why would you have them fly across the country when all their stuff is here if there's an impending trade? So I'm curious to see, and I know you don't have the manifest of tonight's flight, but I'm just curious to see if Bjugstad and Chychrun actually get on the plane to fly to Dallas.
Yeah, I don't see any point in it either. They're obviously not going to play. You're not going to put Bjugstad back in the lineup. We already know Jakob Chychrun's not playing in that game, so I don't see any point in those guys traveling with the team unless, you know, a guy like Nick Bjugstad, just being who he is, just wants to hang out with his teammates for another day.
Yeah, definitely. Well, while we're on the trade subject and the Chicago Blackhawks subject, let's talk about this big trade that went down today that involved the Arizona Coyotes because they played a role in the Patrick Kane trade. In fact, Craig, for 0.5 seconds, Patrick Kane was a member of the Arizona Coyotes today. If you look at the actual paper trail of this trade, it was a Chicago to Arizona, Arizona to New York situation. And this begs the very important question, does Patrick Kane now qualify for the list of greats who is paid by the Coyotes but never actually
on a
played?
Technicality, Craig, does he count?
I don't know. This is open for debate. And DP brought up, you know, a counterpoint tonight because you can say he was technically a Coyote for, I don't know, a millisecond, however long it lasted. And he was paid. He will be paid by the Coyotes. So those are two of our key criteria. But DP, I know you have.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is just he played for somebody else. Like the other guys retired as Coyotes.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane will. I mean,
I feel
not necessarily
that.
retire as a Ranger, but Unless he signs with the Coyotes.
Unless he retires as a Coyote.
Maybe
never
he wants
say
to.
never, buddy.
Maybe he wants to join with Austin Matthews. Austin
saying.
Matthews.
Can you imagine
If
that?
he's not coming to Buffalo,
Yes.
I'll take it. I'm just, so
Never
then we
say
can raise
never.
the banner once he retires as a Coyote. But that's my main thing is that he
I'm with
played
you.
for someone else afterwards.
But it's still fun to think about him
It is. As a briefly, Patrick Kane was a Coyote.
yeah, absolutely.
Ever so briefly.
But the details of this trade, this was one of the more weird conditional things. So this is thank you to the reporters and Cap Friendly and the Puckpedias of the world for doing all the work so we don't have to. So as part of the trade, the Coyotes take on 25% of the remaining salary on Patrick Kane's contract, which expires at the conclusion of the season. The Coyotes also, for taking on that cap hit, receive the Rangers 2025 third round pick. Here's where it gets weird. The Rangers have the Dallas fourth round pick in 2025 from the Lundqvist trade. That becomes the Dallas third in 2025 if Lundqvist gets 55 points combined this year and next. If that happens, Arizona gets the better of the Rangers third and the third from Dallas that was a fourth. If not, the Coyotes get the Rangers third.
Right? Like, let's talk about, at some point, this is not the time to ask, but how did we arrive at that as the condition? I mean, was this a joke? Was it like
my brain actually hurt reading
I
that.
swear I don't understand it. So I'll just wait till the draft and they go up to the microphone and say the next pick.
It's like that meme with all the
Coyotes.
things on the wall to connect the dots. I have no idea what that means.
They got a pick out of it.
Yeah,
they got a pick.
So for, what is it, 172K? I can't even remember what
it was 170 something.
Yeah, and then also one more note is the Coyotes sent a player to Chicago. Craig, you have the name on the tip of your tongue because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Go ahead, try. I want to hear it.
Vili Saariarvi?
Sayarvi.
Okay,
that's pretty close. Not bad.
Somebody asked me in Twitter why he only played the one season in Tucson and then went back to Europe, and there were thoughts, was it more money? No, he's just, I don't know how to say this other than he's just not NHL caliber. He would love to come back. I talked to him at the end of last season, and he really wants to come back. Talked to his agent, Jay Grossman, but I know it wasn't going to happen for the Coyotes, and I have a hard time believing it's going to happen for the New York Rangers.
Yeah. But the Coyotes, you mentioned it, they pay $172,432 in cash to take on the 2.625 cap hit. So basically, if you want to summarize this in a nice bow and forget about that weird thing that I just read, the Coyotes paid $172,000 for a draft pick.
Yeah.
To help facilitate this deal. And take on a cap hit that, helps the Coyotes stay above the cap floor. Because the $2.65 million, they're not paying that. That just goes toward their cap hit. But just a very interesting thing. Interesting that this is the first deal the Coyotes have been a part of at the trade deadline. I think there's a lot of Coyotes fans kind of going, hello, like, is anything going to go on here? The Chychrun stuff's been dragged out. Obviously, Bjugstad tonight. We just don't know. There's a lot of names in the mix. I think everybody's kind of on edge this week. It's affecting the room. I'm glad, at least, for morale for the room, they got this win tonight. That probably felt good, but just been it's been an interesting trade deadline for the Coyotes so far.
Yeah, when you look at the team that they played tonight, that's the dream, right? Look at the Blackhawks now. It's potentially 7 first-round picks over the next 3 seasons. And then you've got a glut of second and third round picks too. The Coyotes have the seconds and the thirds, but they only have 1 first round pick each of the next 3 seasons. Of course, they were hoping they could move Jakob Chychrun and get 2 more, at least get up to 5, but that hasn't happened. It's when you look at what the Blackhawks have done now, and there's a key here, right? They're able to take back salary. The Blackhawks have taken back salary. The Coyotes, when they do it, it's this minuscule amount that we talk about, or the Shea Weber thing where they're using it really to get over the cap floor, but they can't take money back in a lot of these situations. And that's hamstringing Bill Armstrong's ability to make deals. I want people to remember that when they're like, why can't we do what Chicago is doing? Well, Chicago's GM, Kyle Davidson, has it easier than Bill Armstrong does. He doesn't have these financial challenges. It really hamstrings a GM when you can't take money back, especially, as we talked about so many times, in this crazy cap era where the cap has been flat for a couple seasons, a bunch of teams are bumping up against the cap. They simply can't take a player like Jakob Chychrun on without giving money back. And so if you can't find a third team to broker it, what do you do?
Yeah, it does put the Coyotes in a more difficult situation. So yeah, Craig, good pointing that out because it's important to remember. Really quick, I might have said that the player the Coyotes sent to New York, I meant to say Chicago. So sorry if I misspoke. And then also this is...
I said it too, so...
Oh, okay. And then funny...
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and then funny comment from Blatantly Asinine, OMG, Leah had already forgotten about the epic trade of Coyotes' legendary blue liner, Dyson Mayo. You're right, I did forget about that trade as well. So the two moves the Coyotes have made ahead of this trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the trade deadline too much other than the trade deadline's on Friday. The big pieces have been traded over the last 3 or 4 days. There's more trades than I ever remember this early, this fast and furious. But to sit there and, as a Coyote observer and watching the Coyotes fans watch this and go, wait, huh? Because he's going, where? Like, all I do is keep saying, okay, another defenseman to Toronto. They picked up 3 defensemen in the last 48 hours, and one of them is not Jakob Chychrun. Edmonton Oilers pick up a defenseman that's not Jakob Chychrun. So the places where we thought he may be going are changing. And I know LA is really hot and heavy. That's what we're hearing. And we heard Edmonton was hot until this morning, and now that cooled. The window's starting to close. So I'm not concerned yet, but the suitors just aren't there like they were a few days ago because people are losing their patience, especially in the East. So we'll see how this all ends up.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see with all the moves today how that affects the landscape and the moves the Coyotes can possibly make, because for every trade that happens, you think, well, that was somewhere this player was rumored to go. Well, now they're not go. There's no way they're going there, like Edmonton, like Toronto. So and as we look at the West is like crickets in terms of buyers. It's like what's left out there
anyway, right? Yeah, I mean Edmonton made a big move, but what's LA doing? Is LA going to do something? Is Vegas going to do something more? What's Colorado going to do? You're still waiting for all those shoes to drop. And of course, there's still Carolina, right? The Hurricanes really haven't done anything major yet either. So there's definitely still some possibilities aside from the teams that aren't even in the playoff mix that we've heard as possible destinations for Jakob Chychrun as well, like Columbus or Ottawa. Well, Ottawa's creeping back into the playoff spot, or even St. Louis.
Yeah, I guess time will tell, and that's why we sit here and just wait. And I know Craig will be here live if it's the middle of the night. I'm not coming, but
I mean, if it's the middle of the night, we're not driving down here. No.
Okay.
Like the Suns crew got out of bed for the Kevin Durant trade.
No.
But if it was a massive trade like that, you'd get out of bed.
I guess the concern, and that's why you look at a guy like Nick Bjugstad, where his money is different, his role is different, and that's a piece we've always said that's going to be easier to move. The ask isn't 2 firsts or the equivalent thereof. The ask for Bjugstad's a second or a third, much more palatable. The dollars going in and out are much different. He fits different roles. So when he's out of the lineup, I would have to believe. When they took Chychrun out, I said this isn't imminent. When they take Bjugstad out of the lineup, I have to think something's imminent.
Yeah. And then we'll see about Gostisbehere, who you should remember, too, with Gostisbehere, again, they got him for nothing, and they got a second-round pick. So they've already cashed in a bit on Shane Gostisbehere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll
stay tuned.
We'll stay on top of it.
Stay tuned because it'll be here.
As always, we will for sure discuss it as we go forward. Another game tomorrow. We'll see who makes the trip. We'll see who's in the lineup, and we'll see if there's anybody new in the lineup tomorrow night. You never know. A lot can go down in 24 hours, as we know. Craig, anything else you want to touch on before we let you go?
I'll see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have something more to talk about.
Yep. All right, Craig. Thanks, and drive
We're all
safe.
Here tomorrow, aren't we?
We are.
In the studio.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Dinner on Craig?
Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig. See you tomorrow.
Definitely check out Craig's article, by the way, today on the human side of the trade deadline. It really got me in my feels.
Yeah.
But it's so important to remember that, as we all sit here thinking, why aren't there any trades? Like, these are real people's lives. So honestly, it's better for everyone if nobody gets traded for the Coyotes themselves. But obviously that's just not how this works. But for those who do come here, if they need to get new furniture for their empty apartment that they get on the fly, they can check out More Furniture. I have never spent more time scrolling furniture, like More Furniture's website than I have recently.
Moving.
Most people know by now that I just moved. I still need a lot of stuff. And thank goodness for more. Like, thank goodness I've already gotten 2 things from there. I have more to go. I just need to go actually in person this weekend. So check out More Furniture. You can save big on the best furniture in the Valley when you head to morefurniture.com. That's morfurniture.com. You can get the white glove delivery, which is really nice, stress-free. Moving is as stressful as it is.
Very stressful.
Let them do the hard part, and just deliver it for you all set up so you don't have to stress. Petey, did you have any pick'ems going on Underdog tonight? I know you've kind of been on a little slide.
I've been on, and it's not even a slide. It's, I don't know if it's hubris, but I got to take the insurance because I get 4 out of 5.
I know.
Fairly consistently. I will say my bread and butter in the highers and lowers is in pitch counts. And
it's coming.
Buddy, have you watched any? I know you're probably glued to the TV watching spring training baseball. I have. Buddy, those games are buzzing.
Really?
Like, they go so fast. I was watching the Twins game today. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was the Royals game today, and a pitcher got called on the pitch count thing. And you're like, what? You're like, yeah, this thing is just, we're flying through games.
D-backs played a 2-hour and 4-minute game.
Are you in a baseball
2 hours
game?
And 4 minutes. It was
yes,
flawless.
please,
it was
more
flawless.
So higher and lower on pitchers.
So we know
pitch count is my jam.
So we know when it comes around, you're going to be giving out the pick'ems.
Yes.
Okay. So
I will be higher and lower pick'ems on pitch count in less than a month.
If you're interested in participating in the baseball side of Underdog Fantasy, check it out. You can also play daily fantasy with baseball. I couldn't even fathom managing a season-long fantasy baseball team.
No.
There's so many games.
162, you can't do it.
That's what daily fantasy is literally perfect for this sort of thing.
Yes.
So check out Underdog Fantasy, play the pick'em game, play daily fantasy, MLB, NBA, NHL, anything you can name. It's on Underdog and it's super easy to get started. Go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app. Sign up with the promo code PHNX and Underdog. We'll match your first deposit up to $100. All right, couple other things to talk about before we get out of here. First of all, I saw it in the chat way earlier. You don't need to find it, Sean. Robert said he thought I forget if he said the t-shirt or the jersey, the Black Excellence Night jerseys were really, really cool. So he bought one on his way out. We got to see them in person.
Were they selling the jerseys or just t-shirts?
Well, I think they were selling the t-shirts.
They were selling the t-shirts and they auctioned off the jerseys.
Okay, so Robert probably
we already saw Cassie.
Robert bought a t-shirt.
Yeah. So, but we have a photo of what the warm-up jerseys look like, and these were so sick. And seeing them on the ice, first of all, veggie, black pads, black gloves, black everything. And these.
It looks like we have breaking news.
Oh, Gavrikov to LA?
Seems like that might have some implications for
that might have some implications. Let's see. Hold, please.
Not here yet. It's not on my TSN ticker.
Elliot Friedman, Luke says.
Yes, with LA and Columbus working on a Korpisalo and Gavrikov deal. Word is one of the pieces in return will be Jonathan Quick.
Whoa.
Oh!
Wow. Legends leaving teams.
Wow. Elliot Friedman.
Oh my God.
Rumblings around tonight around the LA Kings, and they're interested in Korpisalo and Gavrikov. Oh.
Korpisalo to the Kings and Quick to Columbus.
Wow.
When
Sorry,
wow.
we're clearly processing in person.
But again,
if you're
it goes
listening
back
later,
to,
you're probably like, no.
So now you're sitting there looking at the Jakob Chychrun stuff, and it's just defenseman after defenseman is going, and those defensemen are not named Jakob Chychrun, and they're all to the teams that he's rumored to go to. If this and Elliot Friedman is an outstanding reporter, and you believe what he's got laying down,
first round pick will also be involved.
Korpisalo and Gavrikov,
and if a first round pick is involved, if the Kings giving that away, then where's the first round pick they're going to pay for Chychrun?
Yeah, there is no Chychrun deal if Gavrikov's going to LA.
Oh my goodness. Because 3 hours ago, Darren Drager tweeted, Bill Armstrong is back to the drawing board working on landing spots for Chychrun. The Oilers and Coyotes were in deep as late as this morning before Ken Holland cut bait and reset his focus on Ekholm and the deal.
Which he got and is done.
Yeah, so then we can, Edmonton set aside. But now LA possibly now set aside. Petey, who's left for Jakob Chychrun?
I've heard rumored again, Toronto's still not done, and they're trying to figure out a way to still get Jakob Chychrun, even though they have 9 defensemen on their roster right now. I don't know where else he goes. Unless, to Craig's point, he goes to one of those two teams we talked about earlier, like a Columbus or an Ottawa. I don't know.
And as people are pointing out in the comments, this is only going to help Columbus in their tank battle.
Yeah, maybe. And this way, if Jonathan Quick goes plays for Columbus with no pressure, facing 40 shots a night, I don't know. Like the kid can still kick them. I don't know. I'm more concerned of this is a team we've been saying since last June has to dismantle through the trade deadline. Has to. And as of yet, they've traded Dyson Mayo. That is not dismantling your roster. So as the trade market heats up in days in advance, which is abnormal, what happens to your big pieces and what happens to your smaller pieces? Like, man, I don't want to say time's running out, but the Jakob Chychrun trade to me is not imminent. I don't know.
So somebody said if LA is truly acquiring Gavrikov, the path is clear for the Jets to acquire Chychrun.
Wow. I think blatantly asinine. Pittsburgh is hot for him. Like the coaching staff really wants to add Jakob Chychrun. We'll see.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. I forget who it was who broke that in our chat. I want to give them credit. Michael. It was Michael. Yeah. Thank you, Michael, for that. That is interesting.
But again, it's how those trades affect the Arizona Coyotes. It's not so much what's happening to LA or Columbus. It's that affects the Chychrun trade. Exactly. And that's what you need to look at when you're watching all these things, is how to affect Arizona. Yeah.
We will see. We'll obviously talk more about this tomorrow because it's 10:30. These guys are working overtime, these insiders. So I'm sure we'll see it all go through tomorrow and really know. So we'll talk about that more on the postgame show and see what moves, if any, Arizona makes tomorrow. So fascinating stuff. Wow. Okay, well, I'm just going to circle back around, back on the tracks.
Yes.
I just want to finish talking about the Black Excellence jerseys because they were very cool. So we saw them in person. We saw the designer, really cool way, for the Black Excellence night, a Black designer. The shirts were unbelievable. You can purchase them. Sean and I are trying to get our hands on them. They're really, really sick. So these were really cool. But I don't know, a little more work the Coyotes can do, I think, on making Black Excellence Night a little bit more substantial. I think the partnership with, Black designer is a great first step in reaching, maybe a wider audience. But I'm going to let, if you want, Sean, you can say no. I'm going to let Sean speak to this because he has obviously a little bit different of a perspective than you and I.
Just a little bit. First off, I think the jerseys are dope. And if you don't like them, I mean, it's fine. Not everyone can have style. It's okay. You're entitled to your wrong opinion. So that was cool. I mean, it's a little funny the way it's the last day of Black History Month to do all this. And as I have mentioned, it was a little disappointing because if you showed up after puck drop, you really wouldn't have known that it was Black Excellence Night. I don't know what they did during the second intermission because that's when we left, so I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But from puck drop to when we left, they didn't really do anything. So that was disappointing. But I will say, most of y'all probably know, there was a conversation to be had in the Discord today about all of this. I'm going to say, I got a lot to say. First off, just because something is designed by a Black designer and is trendy does not mean it's gangster. So there's that. That was said, and that's bullshit. Secondly, there's a comment made about how we need to have where's Hispanic Excellence Night and all that stuff. First off, the Coyotes had an entire Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. They had the Los Yotes jerseys. So, I mean, you're not paying any attention. You're just racist, and you don't want to admit it. And that's fine. I wouldn't want to admit it either if I was racist. But a point that a lot of people are trying to make was that, what does this actually do? I will say is that I grew up in Buffalo, New York, as you probably know. And I don't know that I am into hockey the way that I am if I don't look up on my screen and see Mike Greer playing for the Sabres. Jerome McGinley was one of my favorite players growing up. I mean, obviously, Ray Emery was a big rival with the Buffalo Sabres growing up, eventually seeing PK Subban, all that stuff. I'm not here without, or I don't have this love for hockey without those guys. So representation is super important. And if you disagree, kindly fuck yourself. And also, I just want to clarify this because I tweeted it out and deleted because I don't delete tweets. But I did not know that the Chicago Blackhawks cheer during the national anthem. It was definitely a little bit of a bad look for the Mullett crowd, the way that they cheered for the national anthem directly off of Lift Every Voice, the Black national anthem. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I do appreciate the Coyotes for at least having that song sang. It was dope. My big takeaway from the night is it seemed very, it seemed like lip service, very gimmicky. I have a hard time believing that it was coincidence that the NHL's one black ref was refereeing this night. They sang that song and then they didn't really acknowledge it again. You got 41 other home games or 40 other home games you could do this and you didn't do it. And it just seems like bullshit. And I think what happened in the Discord tonight proved that there's a long way to go in hockey. But I do want to say, and I mentioned this to Leah about a week or two ago, that generally speaking, I so very much appreciate the Coyotes fan base and specifically the PHNX Coyotes fan base because up until today, I have never once felt that I wasn't accepted or that I didn't belong here. And I very much appreciate that because from when I grew up, I went to a very large hockey school with a lot of very conservative Catholic boys, and it was never that accepting. And it was very difficult growing up. And I very much love hockey. But it is tough at times going to Mullett and looking around and being the only black person there. So I do very much appreciate how accepting and supportive a lot of vast majority of y'all have been. It means more to me than I can put into words, and I very much appreciate you. And scene. Great.
Thanks, DP.
Well said, Sean. And it's just, it's important to get Sean's perspective on that.
It is.
I don't experience it the way Sean does. So, Sean, thank you for your 2 cents. And, I think tonight it was a step in the right direction on behalf of the Coyotes. Obviously, everyone can do better, but that's, part of the hockey is for everyone initiative. So we will continue to follow that. And Sean, you mentioned Mike Greer, now the GM of the San Jose Sharks, and San Jose is currently up 1-0 on the Montreal Canadiens.
Speaking of black excellence, I just want to say that it's fucking awesome that Mike Greer is the GM of an NHL team and his brother is the GM of an NFL team.
That does go crazy.
That does go crazy.
And the Sabans, black excellence to a T. I really appreciate you. Malcolm Saban, currently a Buffalo Sabres, or I guess Rochester Americans goalie.
So keeping track of that. That could be great. If that game even goes to overtime and San Jose wins, even better, because Montreal, they're
sneaking in there.
They're sneaking in that area. We just want to keep them far, far away. We already talked about the night it could have been for the tank. It wasn't. It's fine. We'll move on.
Yes.
But let's see what's ahead for the Coyotes. In the meantime, the March schedule only gets more unforgiving. I saw Lindsay Fry in the women's room on the media floor. Yes. We were washing our hands, and she said, we have to go get on a plane right now and go to Dallas and then come back and play on Friday. And I said to her, I was like, I was even stressing that it's a back-to-back. I forgot about the fact that you're all getting on a plane right now. So just brutal, kind of throwing that away game in the middle of this otherwise kind of a homestand because they're home Friday against Carolina. That's going to be a crazy one. They're home Sunday against New Jersey. New Jersey's been, is a playoff team. Tuesday against St. Louis home. Thursday against Nashville home. And then on the road in Colorado defending Stanley Cup champions. So, boy, howdy.
Yeah, and here's
a tough one.
We talk a lot about the tank. If you don't think they're going to get some L's in this little stretch, like Dallas, they're literally not on a plane yet. They're not. They get the plane will take off at 11 o'clock tonight. It'll be 11 o'clock departure. That's a 2-hour plus flight and a time zone change. Well, buddy, like when do you think they're going to go to bed? And they play tomorrow. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Dallas is pretty good. So that's going to be a tough one. And then you get home late the next night and you get sleep a few hours, and then you get to play the Carolina Hurricanes, the top
and by
team
the
in the
way,
National Hockey League.
It's the trade deadline on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone's going to sleep really great on Thursday night.
Imagine?
Not.
You're going to go to the rink in the morning. By the way, league, and we need to tell Craig to tell Gary Bettman this, no more games on trade deadline day. That's just absolutely asinine.
Please.
What are you doing? Like, that's just, like, honestly, and it's not fair to literally the players, the teams, the coaches.
The travel people.
It's not fair. So don't have games on that day anymore. Please. Day off. It's trade deadline day. No more games.
Agree.
Because it's just not fair.
It's just not
There
fair.
are going to be teams that are going to have problems rostering 20 players.
Yep. And not everyone has the luxury of having their AHL team an hour and a half drive away. Just saying.
Only winning franchises like the Arizona Coyotes and the Buffalo Sabres.
Buffalo Sabres. I'm still waiting for the Arizona Buffalo Sabres Stanley Cup.
So, quick side note, I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I have been doing an NHL franchise, an NHL 23, with the Buffalo Sabres. Completely accidentally, it just so happens that I met the Coyotes in the 2026 Stanley Cup Finals, as I have been predicting for years.
Get it in the universe, buddy.
But not only that, I'm sure many Coyotes fans will be happy to hear that at this point in the mythical future, Lawson Krause is wearing the captaincy. I also, earlier on in that season, had traded Sabres captain Kyle Okposo to the Arizona Coyotes, and it was crazy that we met in the finals because he got in a fight with Owen Power.
Wow.
It was
I don't know if it's like his Wheel of Fantasy dream or if this is
no,
real.
The Sabres won in 7, so
yeah.
I don't know how happy I'll be about that, but it was pretty crazy that all happened. And the thing was, is the Yotes still had nobody. It was still Schmaltz and Keller and Krause and Melka. They all got him there, so why not?
I love it so much.
But, don't laugh. And I guess as a hockey fan, and you look at the Buffalo Sabres, and the Buffalo Sabres are exactly what the Arizona Coyotes hope to be.
Yeah.
Ottawa Senators are what the Coyotes hope to be. I think Sabres and Ottawa, and even to some extent Detroit, those three teams are about 2 to 3 years. Buffalo's probably 3 years ahead of where Arizona is, where their draft picks are drafted, developed, and now playing. And that's where Arizona hopes to be when they're looking at Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther and this year's draft pick. And you want to be Buffalo in 3 years, because we joke about Buffalo a lot, but if you watch that team and that roster, they're sprinkling in with some veterans. I don't love their goaltending. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen can kick them, but right now with Anderson, we'll see if he can handle the day in and day out of the playoffs. But they've got veteran players sprinkled in that bring leadership, and they've got young talent. And I tell you what, that team maybe makes the playoffs this year. Maybe. But if they don't this year, they're going to make it next year. And look out when they start doing it, because I think it's a perennial team. But again, the point of that is that's what Arizona wants to be. Get high draft picks, develop them, play them together, and make a playoff run for extended years, not just one and done.
Yeah, I'll say right now is that the Sabres have like 4 of the top 20 players under 22 years old.
4.
Yeah, Dylan Cousins, Deline, Owen Power. Dylan Cousins. And they're all...
You said Dylan Cousins.
You said it twice. It counts like 2 players.
Power.
Tage.
Cousins.
You didn't say Tage.
Tage doesn't count. He's not under 22.
Oh.
Maybe it's just 3 then. But at least Cousins and Tage, and I think Deline are all signed to long-term contracts. Yep. So, like you said, it's not one and done. Like they've got years
made a good
of
point.
this.
Tim Thomas carried the Bruins. And you don't need great goaltending on a great team. You need good goaltending on a great team. And I think we talked about Darcy Kemper's performance last year with Colorado. You never know.
Yep.
You just got to get in. And the Coyotes are not getting in.
No, but they've still been fun to watch as of late, and they're home a lot in the month of March. So if you want to go see them in person at the Mullett, I saw my friend
get tickets.
I saw my friend at Mullett.
Did you?
He got tickets for standing room only.
Really?
On the Game Time app. It was his first time at Mullett this season.
Game Time app?
Yeah. So it was great to see him. Shout out Sam if you're watching. But you can also buy your tickets on the Game Time app, and you can save up to 60% when you buy those tickets last minute. So check out Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link below in our description. Petey, you weren't here today in midday.
No, I was not.
But I will tell you, nothing is better than when you're hungry, you've been working, and all of a sudden you look up and boxes of pizza are coming into the office.
Better.
Mountain Mike's Pizza does that for us.
There were mountains of pizza today.
There were mountains of pizza, and it was really funny. They sent a mini pineapple pizza as a joke for Derek, who despises pineapple on pizza. I just so happen to love pineapple on pizza. This might be a very hot, controversial take, but as a Canadian where the Hawaiian pizza originated, I love pineapple on pizza. And I ate that Mountain Mike's, the whole mini Mountain Mike's pineapple pizza today. So
I think Hawaiian pizza is dog shit, and that makes sense that it's from Canada. But pineapple on pizza is amazing. I'm just not a ham guy.
There wasn't even ham on this.
Yeah, that's a good pineapple pizza. I'm here for it.
Amazing. So if you want to try Mountain Mike's Pizza, you don't have to get pineapple if you don't want. Head on over to mountainmikespizza.com or go to their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson locations to place your next order. And as a reminder, new diehards get a $50 voucher to Mountain Mike's upon signing up. So there's tons of perks to being a diehard, and that is one of them. One last thing before we head out, we got to pull up the punch card, see where we are. Another win on this line. I think is 4 still the most?
4 is still the most.
So in the next 3 games, they can only win 1. And the next 3 were Dallas, Carolina, New Jersey. And
You know what, Leah? Because I can tell we're segueing. When we get to the punch card, we are just about done.
Oh, but I keep forgetting about your keys.
So can we talk about the keys? Can we talk about the keys?
Sorry. Yes.
So, because we're gonna pull back the curtain briefly because you're trying to get through the show and go home. So I'm not gonna let you. We're gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. I literally come up with the keys. I research shit. I go through game notes.
He doesn't just pull this out of nowhere.
No, I go through game notes and statistics, and I look shit up, and I get you the keys in the morning. True or not true?
True.
As a matter of fact, technically today I went and checked. It was 9:38 a.m. for those that were keeping track. But she usually, when I say she, I mean Leah, usually tweets them out from the beat account because they don't trust me with the beat account, the password, so I can't do it. I wouldn't know how anyway, but I can't. But you usually do it an hour and a half before.
Yes, an hour to an hour.
An hour and a half, right. And I go, gosh, it's 5 minutes to puck drop and it's still not there. So I got a little concerned and I say, I hate to say something, but the keys, like we can stop doing the keys.
No,
But now
people like the
this
keys.
is 2 shows in a row. I'm just wondering if there's more to this.
I feel like the show before that you didn't do them at all. Like I feel like
there
I did the
was
same
one
thing.
show with no keys at all, though.
Yeah, there was one
okay,
without
okay,
none
okay.
because
Yeah.
I didn't get to it. Couldn't do them that day. But the last show and this show, I did do them, and we had to pull them after the punch card.
I literally have it in our rundown too.
And we had a conversation at Mullett about forgetting
keys.
Petey's keys.
Okay, so let's look at the keys.
Yeah,
See how they did.
It's like
Part
I'm
of
like
the
that
final
pouty
thoughts.
kid now. It's like I don't even want to do them now. I don't want to talk about it. See, I thought that was clever too. Tie up Domi.
I know, it was
Tie
great.
Domi.
It was good. All of them. Apple turnover.
Yeah, Max Domi did nothing, and he's their best player all year. Tied him up, didn't do nothing. Apple turnovers. Last game they struggled with turnovers through the blue lines. Didn't do it. Ding. That's 2. Stay out of the box.
They did.
They did. Well, they gave 2 penalties, but gave up nothing.
Yeah.
And with the goals they've been giving up while shorthanded are absolutely horrific. So that's 3 for 3. And what happens when you're 3 for 3?
You win.
You win. It's not a mystery.
It's actually kind of fun to do.
It's literally
keys at the
not a
end.
mystery.
It's kind of fun to do the keys at the end.
It is.
Because then we can look
Oh,
back.
I'm okay if we do it at the end. Just don't forget me.
I'm sorry. Is there anything else you would like to add
No.
before we head out?
No, but thank you for letting me do that.
You're welcome.
Validated.
Everybody watching us live, listening later on audio or on YouTube, we appreciate you. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. There's always a ton of stuff going on. We got the Suns crew covering Katie's eventual start with the Suns. We got the Cardinals crew out in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. D-backs is out at spring training. There's just always something going on. We're always covering it. So subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel and become a diehard at gophnx.com. Also, wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, leave us a review, PHNX Coyotes. And lastly, you can follow us on Twitter. Follow at Craigus Morgan for all the latest trade things. For non-trade things, but just for fun commentary, you can follow Petey at SPetersHockey, me at Leah Merrill, Sean at Sean_DePaz. And lastly, you can follow our beat account at PHNX_Coyotes on Twitter. We will be back tomorrow night after the Coyotes play the Dallas Stars. But until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you tomorrow.